Y'all know what a seed is, right? Tithe of your seed. Read on.
That the field bringeth forth.
That the field brings forth.
Year by year.
Year by year.
And thou shalt eat before the Lord thy God.
When you have your tithe, you're supposed to eat before the Lord your God.
In the place which he shall choose.
In the place that he shall choose. What is the place God chose? Hold that. 2 Chronicles 6:6. What is the place God chose to bring your tithes? Let's find out. I'm giving you basic Bible facts, history.
2 Chronicles 6 and verse 6. But I have chosen Jerusalem, that my name might be there, and have chosen David to be over my people Israel.
God chose Jerusalem. God chose Jerusalem for you to bring your tithes to. Go back. Deuteronomy 14.
14 verse 23.
Listen good. I'm going to explain it so it's crystal clear to everybody.
And thou shalt eat before the Lord thy God in the place which he shall choose to place his name there. The tithe of thy corn.
The tithe of your corn.
Of thy wine.
The tithe of your wine.
And of thine oil.
And the tithe of your oil.
And the firstlings of thy herds.
The firstling of your herd is of your sheep, goats, and cows. That's the firstling, meaning the firstborn of your animals must be tithed to the Lord. Go ahead.
And of thy flocks.
And of your flocks, your sheep.
That thou mayest learn to fear the Lord thy God always. And if the way be too long for thee.
So here you are in Solomon Island. And let's say you had to go to Jerusalem to pay your tithes. But the way is far. It's almost 24 hours to get to Jerusalem. And I got all these sheep and cows. How am I going to get all my animals? How am I going to get all my corn and seed, oil, and wine to Jerusalem? That's a lot. Go ahead.
And if the way be too long for thee.
If the way is too long for you to get to Jerusalem.
So that thou art not able to carry it.
So that you are not able to carry all of that.
Or if the place be too far from thee.
If the place is too far from you.
Which the Lord thy God shall choose to set his name there.
Jerusalem.
When the Lord thy God hath blessed thee.
What should I do?
Then shalt thou turn it into money.
Now, it says it's too far for me. I got to turn all that I got into money. So I gotta change my sheep, goats, my lambs, my cows, my oils, my wines and corn and seeds into money. So now, hand me that right there. Hand me that right there. So now I change it into money, and I have a bag. This is all the money. Now I can get to Jerusalem like this. I can get on a ship and sail my way to Jerusalem with the money. Go ahead.
Then shalt thou turn it into money, and bind up the money in thine hand, and shalt go unto the place which the Lord thy God shall choose.
Now I can go to Jerusalem that God chose with the tithe money. Go ahead.
And thou shalt bestow that money for whatsoever thy soul lusteth after.
So now when I get to Jerusalem, it says I have to bestow my money, meaning buy everything that I once had, buy back again. So in Jerusalem, now I got this money, I have to buy cows, sheep, goats, corn, oils, wine, seeds of the field. Read that again.
And thou shalt bestow that money for whatsoever thy soul lusteth after. For oxen.
For oxen? It's going to name what I got to buy when I get to Jerusalem. For oxen.
Or for sheep.
Or for sheep.
Or for wine.
Or for wine.
Or for strong drink.
Or for strong drink.
Or for whatsoever thy soul desireth, and thou shalt eat there before the Lord thy God.
Now when I get to the temple, I must eat before the Lord my God. Go ahead.
And thou shalt rejoice, thou and thine household. And the Levite.
And the Levite, because the tithes was for the Levites. I guarantee you, nobody here can identify who the Levites are in the world today. Because you've been destroyed. You don't know who the Levites are. Rome destroyed them. And they went into slavery. Read.
And the Levite that is within thy gates, thou shalt not forsake him.
So the tithing was for the Levites. I had to give 10% of my crops, my corn, oil, and sheep to the Levite priests. Go ahead.
For he hath no part nor inheritance with thee.
He didn't own land. The Levites did not own land. So if I'm from the tribe of Judah, I had to give the Levites 10% of what I made. Go ahead.
At the end of 3 years.
When was tithes done?
At the end of 3 years.
Every 3 years you had to pay tithes of corn, oil, seed, crops, animals. At the end of every 3 years. Go ahead.
Thou shalt bring forth all the tithe of thine increase the same year, and shalt lay it up within thy gates.
Read.
And the Levite, because he hath no part nor inheritance with thee,
So the tithe was divided between the Levites, because he had no inheritance, no land,
and the stranger,
the strangers that were among us,
and the fatherless,
the children who were fatherless, their fathers died. We had to take care of them, the orphans,
and the widow.
the widows, the women whose husbands died. The tithing was to take care of them also.
which are within thy gates, shall come and shall eat and be satisfied, that the Lord thy God may bless thee in all thy work of thine hand which thou doest.
So the tithes was every 3 years. It was for the Levites, the strangers, the orphans and widows. Every 3 years. And it was made of corn, wine, seeds, animals. It was never money. What did the Pope do with that? The Pope said to his missionaries, they called it tax during the time of colonialism. They said, tax the people. Once you allow them into your church, tax them. Call it tithing. Make them give 10% of every penny they make and bring that money back to the Catholic Church. That's what they did.